Believe it or not, last night they got into some policy specifics instead of just generalities. But what you're going to see is a little bit of a problem. All these facts and figures bantered about, you're going to hear claims like liar, liar, that's not true. And debates always give mainstream media and fact checkers a ton of material to comb through. So I want to do that. I want to fact check some of the stats that were thrown out last night. I also want to fact check some of the fact checkers as well. So with me to take a look at this are the president and CEO of FreedomWorks, Matt Kibbe, and research fellow at American Enterprise Institute, Alex Brill. Thanks, fellas.
Hey, thanks
Matt,
for having me.
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're friends, right, Matt?
That's right.
I can never tell. Every time you're around, I talk about your sideburns and your glasses. But
I got mostly positive tweets on that.
You're like the Sphinx to me. I can't tell. You walk off, I ask people, do you think Matt hates me or likes me? Let's start with Alex on this. Alex, I want to start specifically with the $5 trillion claim last night. President Obama saying that Mitt Romney has a tax proposal where he would offer a $5 trillion tax cut. Now, I know you've written about this at AEI, and you have done a lot of research on what the truth and falsehoods are in this claim. But first, let's just hear the claim directly from President Obama.
Well, how do we have enough revenue to make those investments? And this is where there's a difference, because Governor Romney's Central Economic Plan calls for a $5 trillion tax cut. On top of the extension of the Bush tax cuts, that's another $1 trillion.
So, Alex, here's what he had to say last night, essentially. Your math doesn't add up, Mitt Romney. You can't have what amounts to a $5 trillion tax cut that ends up being revenue neutral. There aren't enough loopholes and exemptions and tax credits to cut to make that possible. Is that true?
There's no $5 trillion tax cut. In fact, oddly, the president is on both sides of this. It's both an $86 billion tax increase and a $5 trillion tax cut, according to what the president had to say in the debate last night. And quite frankly, I don't think either of those numbers are true at all. What we know about the tax code today is that there are an enormous number of exemptions, credits, deductions, exclusions. The base of the tax system is very narrow, and that reasonable, common-sense tax policy would be to clean the tax code of those provisions and lower the rates. And that's the framework behind Simpson-Bowles, and it's a revenue-neutral process.
Well, that's the deal. So Alex, President Obama's claim about the $5 trillion tax cut is based on his assumption. Well, it's not an assumption. Mitt Romney said it, that he's going to cut tax rates by 20%. But Mitt Romney says, no, look, that's going to be both revenue neutral, and I'm going to maintain the progressivity, the progressiveness of the tax code, the amount weighted on the wealthiest earners by doing away with these loopholes and exemptions. But to be fair, he has not said what those are, right? He remains ambiguous on this.
That's right. The details in terms of which provisions, which credits, deductions, whatever they may be, which ones would be repealed, which ones would be kept, which ones would be reformed, that minutia, that detail is not yet made available. On the other hand, President Obama seems perfectly fine with the tax code, doesn't think that any of these credits, these gimmicks, these loopholes need to go. So one is advocating for a broad base and lower rates, and the other one seems to think that the system's okay the way it is, just need to raise the rates on a few at the top.
So, Matt, you and I have talked often, and I think most of our conversations revolve around principles, right? What we want to see our leaders stand for. And as Alex describing here, simplifying the tax code, making it understandable, doing away with all these credits, that's a good principle that most conservatives and libertarians agree upon. But do you think we need to hear specifics from Mitt Romney on which loopholes and exemptions and deductions he's actually talking about?
Well, first of all, I think the Romney tax plan is the most principled, most bold proposal that Romney has offered. He's talking about lowering rates, stop punishing capital, stop punishing job creation, and there's a growth dividend. You're debating a president, by the way, who intellectually believes that if you raise rates to 100%, you would get that much more revenue. He doesn't understand that taxes matter, incentives matter. And Romney's, what he's really talking about is growing the pie so that lower rates actually generate more revenue. And that's important to understand. I'd love to put all loopholes on the table. I happen to be a flat tax guy, and that wipes out everything, including such controversial things as a home mortgage deduction. I don't think Mitt Romney's that guy. He's not that bold. Paul Ryan has been that bold, and maybe we'll see it in the VP debate.
I'd like